Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by
Secure Testing Services, providing 24-hour on-site drug and alcohol testing for businesses.
and by
Clean water is one of our most valuable resources. Conserving it should be all of our responsibility. Remember every day to make every drop count. Wash full loads, take shorter showers, turn off your faucet. Water, use it wisely. Let's commit to conserve.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Flying Squirrels Insider. I'm Trey Wilson alongside Jake Eisenberg, and we're excited to bring you all of the behind-the-scenes information and access to what's been going on with the Richmond Flying Squirrels baseball team of late as we roll through this 10th season of Flying Squirrels baseball. Today, Utility Buddy from the City of Richmond Department of Public Utilities shares information about Richmond's natural gas safety program. If you cook with natural gas, then you live near a natural gas pipeline. If you expose or cause damage to a pipeline, no matter how minor it might seem, call 646-7000. Text to win free Flying Squirrel stuff. Text FSI to 63975. Message and data rates apply. Mobile service is provided by Opt-in Technologies. Well, Jake, the Eastern League All-Star Game is coming up. We're less than 2 weeks away. Wednesday, July the 10th at Diamond. For the first time, the Flying Squirrels are hosting the Eastern League All-Star Game.
And we've been talking about it so much, the way that it's been coming up, getting ready for the entire Eastern League All-Star Week presented by Genworth, July 7th through the 10th. It's right around the corner.
And part of that, you got to have players
for
the All-Star Game. The Eastern Division and Western Division rosters were announced this past week, and the Flying Squirrels are awfully well represented on that team. And as we take a look through who some of these Flying Squirrels All-Stars are this season, we start with the guy who was here last year, came back this season after a rough season last year, and Jonah Arenado.
He's been one of the most improved players in the entire league. Last year, he hit 200 in over 100 games. This season, through the first half of the year, he led the Flying Squirrels in both average and doubles, and he's very deserving of the All-Star selection.
The first half of the season in the Eastern League, he was also 8th in the league in batting average and 8th in hits. So a great turnaround for Arenado after he hit just 200 during 2018 while battling through some injuries, and a great honor for him to be selected as part of this All-Star team and recognizing some of the improvements that he's made in his second turn through the Eastern League. Another Flying Squirrels player who's heading to the All-Star Game right here in Richmond this year is outfielder Jacob Hayward.
He was one of the hottest players for the Flying Squirrels over the course of the first month and change of the season. Right now, one of the league leaders in walks. He's in his first season playing AA baseball. He's shined in the middle of the lineup for the Flying Squirrels, and he's also come up pretty great defensively in the outfield, whether it's in center, left, or right.
Jacob Hayward this season is second in the Eastern League at walks. He's always finding a way to get on base, and that's been a huge asset for the Flying Squirrels as they've navigated through the first half and now rolling into the second half. And he's also ranked third on the team with 7 homers this year, tied for third, and he's second on the team in RBI, so he's been a contributor all over the board. Zach Houchins joined the Flying Squirrels a little bit late this year. He was with the Angels organization. They let him go. A couple days later, the Giants said, "We like what we've seen with this guy," and they picked him up. Zach Houchins has been with the Flying Squirrels for only about a month and some change, but he played well enough in that span to be selected as an Eastern League All-Star.
Yeah, it really all started during an 11-game road trip. Zach Houchins was pretty much impossible to get out. He was hitting home runs in pretty much every ballpark in the Eastern League. He's got 6 of them now this season. Zach Houchins has been a revelation for the Flying Squirrels offensively in the middle of the order.
You go back to when things really started to pick up for Zach Houchins. You go back to May 29th, and since then he's hitting .318 with 6 homers and 18 RBIs. All 3 of those categories are ranked in the top 5 in the Eastern League in that time frame. Another Flying Squirrels position player is going to be representing Richmond at the Eastern League All-Star Game on Wednesday, July 10th, is the second baseman Jalen Miller.
He's making his second All-Star game. Last year, he was an All-Star in the California League. This year, he's currently tied for the team lead in home runs. He's got 8 of them. He leads the team in RBIs. He's also second in the league in stolen bases with 18. We've seen Jalen Miller do a little bit of everything this season for Richmond.
And he's done some great work defensively at second base as well, in back of some of the pitchers. And then now we take a look at some of the pitchers who are going to be all-stars for the Flying Squirrels this season. One starting pitcher for the Richmond Flying Squirrels will be represented in the Eastern League All-Star Game on Wednesday, July 10th, and that is the left-hander Caleb Berger.
He joined the Flying Squirrels just in the beginning of May after starting the season with the San Jose Giants in the California League. Each of his first 8 starts for the Flying Squirrels, at least 5 innings and 3 or fewer earned runs allowed. He was a consistent presence for the Flying Squirrels, really the rock of the starting rotation, and it was something that wasn't even on his mind to be an all-star. He didn't think that he had been in Richmond long enough to earn that nod, but it just goes to show how impressive he's been and the respect that he's earned around the league.
Berger, since joining the Flying Squirrels, has gone 2-1 with a 2.89 ERA in 9 starts. In his first 8 starts, he didn't allow 2 or more earned runs once, so he was very good to start. He had a rough routing last time, but we're expecting to see a pretty quick bounce back for Caleb Berger. In the bullpen, the Flying Squirrels will be represented in the Eastern League All-Star Game on Wednesday, July 10th by the flame-throwing right-hander Melvin Adone.
Yeah, that fastball is going to be crackling at 100-plus miles an hour during the All-Star Game on July 10th. He's also mixing in a 93, 94-mile-an-hour slider to go along with a sharp curveball he's had this season. The weapons that Melvin Adone has that we've seen on display have been really impressive, and the recent stretch for him especially has been impressive. He's got an ERA under 1 this month.
And he's ranked 5th in the league, overall with 9 saves this season. So Adone has been a great presence at the back end of the bullpen, working in his first season exclusively as a relief pitcher, and he's got himself his first All-Star selection this year as a member of the Flying Squirrels. So the Flying Squirrels have 6 total players in the Eastern League All-Star Game. That's the most in the Eastern League of any team this year, and it's also tied for the most in franchise history.
You've got 2010, 6 All-Stars that season. Last year, 6 All-Stars for the Flying Squirrels. And then this year, hosting the All-Star Game at the Diamond and the most representation. That's pretty special.
And with the record being the way that it was, and we'll talk about it some more in just a moment, the Flying Squirrels did struggle in the win and loss column in the first half, but the fact that they did land 6 players in the All-Star team shows just how strong some of the individual performances on this team were.
It shows that the Flying Squirrels as individuals have been really exciting players to watch, and we've seen them put it together a little bit more over the last couple of weeks, and when that happens, it's a really fun thing to see.
Well, the rosters are set for both the Eastern and Western divisions for the 2019 Eastern League All-Star Game coming up right here in Richmond. The rosters include 2 of the top 4 overall draft picks in the Major League Baseball draft, Casey Mize of Erie and Mickey Moniak of Reading. It's also got 5 of MLB.com's top 100 overall prospects and 21 players who are ranked in the top 30 of their respective positions. So a lot of talent in the Eastern League All-Star Game coming up in less than a couple of weeks right here in Richmond. The Flying Squirrels manager Willie Harris, a former major leaguer himself, will be leading the Western Division team. The Eastern Division will be managed by Mike Mordecai, who's the manager of the defending Eastern League champion New Hampshire Fisher Cats. He's a former Richmond Brave and a longtime major league player as well. So that kind of rounds out our look for the 2019 Eastern League All-Star Game, the Western Division versus the Eastern Division. A great way to cap off the Eastern League All-Star Week presented by Genworth.
Certainly going to be an exciting game, July 10th at the Diamond. I'm excited to see it, not something you're going to want to miss.
One player who's not an all-star, but maybe if the voting had taken place a couple of weeks later, probably would have been Gio Brusa. Had a great road trip. He was named Eastern League Player of the Week earlier this week.
Gio Brusa really was a big reason why the Flying Squirrels were able to sweep the Binghamton Rumble Ponies for their first sweep of the season. Brusa had a 9-game hitting streak, the longest by a Flying Squirrel this season, and he's now hit home runs in 4 of his last 6 games. He's been on another level over the last 2 weeks.
Brusa hit a homer in 3 straight games in that trip and also threw out the potential tying run at home plate in a game that helped finish that sweep out in Binghamton. So he did play a huge part in sweeping that series in 4 straight wins for the first time this season for the Flying Squirrels. Now, Richmond finished the first half in last place, 19 games under 500. Harrisburg won the half. So the Senators have now clinched the playoff spot for the first half in this league. And now we move into the second half of the Eastern League season. The Flying Squirrels are off to a solid start. They're in the race as it stands right now, a 5-3 record sitting in 3rd place and a game and a half behind first place Erie, who's 6-1.
And if you're the Flying Squirrels, you take a look at that first half record and you try and put it in the back of your mind. You forget about it. You're focused on the second half now, focused on winning the Western Division to get into the playoffs. And the Flying Squirrels, to start the second half, have been playing some of the best baseball they've been playing all season.
The Flying Squirrels are in great shape as we roll into the second half of this 2019 season. Really excited about the Eastern League All-Star Week coming up as well. And really excited to get this episode of Flying Squirrels Insider continuing to roll on here throughout this evening. We've got plenty more coming up. We're going to learn about some baseball from Nutzy and Nutasha coming up next on Flying Squirrels Insider.
Welcome back to Squirrel Science. I'm Nutzy, joined at the chalkboard with my esteemed colleague, Professor Nutasha, and today we are going to learn about the elusive sweet spot of the bat. First question, Professor. Is this sweet spot real or just an old ball player's legend?
The sweet spot is very real, and we can prove it. When we talk about the sweet spot, what we mean is a contact point on the barrel of the bat that hits the ball better than anywhere else.
That sounds like magic.
It's physics! When you swing and make contact, the force of the ball and the force of the bat collide and cause vibrations. If the top or the handle of the bat is the contact point, the energy dissipates down the bat. You feel that vibration as a stinging in your hands. The ball does not go as far into the field because we lost lots of force to the vibration in the bat.
Shaking hands and grounders. You always know when you hit the sweet spot right because you get line drives, a great sound, and no sore fingers.
Precisely. This is not the center of the bat if we measure end to end, but it is the perfect spot for vibrational frequency balance. When force acts on this spot or node, the waves of vibration cancel each other out, sending all that energy bouncing right back where it came from.
Sending the ball out of the park. Squirrels win. We can find the sweet spot on our bat, holding the bat upside down from the end of the handle with one hand and giving the barrel a few good bonks.
When you hit it squarely a couple inches from the end of the barrel, you will feel that the handle does not wobble in your hand. Aim for that spot when you get in the batter's box.
Wow, thanks for the awesome lesson, Professor Nutasha. If you have a baseball science question, contact us on Twitter at @GoSquirrels, #SquirrelScience.
Back at FSI Field, Brett Austin, a catcher for the Flying Squirrels, now joining us on Flying Squirrels Insider. He's going to show us how to switch hit a little bit later on, but first, we have to get to know him. Brett, first off, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you come to Richmond by way of a couple of organizations. You were with the White Sox last season. What made the Giants a good fit for you this year?
Well, took the indie ball route. Ended up doing pretty well there. Giants called, and I jumped at the opportunity.
You've now been with the Flying Squirrels for a couple of weeks. You've had to learn an entirely new pitching staff. What's that like?
It's tough. You got to learn the different personalities, what guys you can kind of yell at, what guys you got to coddle a little bit, but you get used to it as time's gone by. I've kind of figured it out a little bit.
Is there a game plan to learning how a pitcher's breaking ball moves or how his fastball might jump at you?
Other than just seeing it, catching their bullpens, getting used to it, that's really about all you can do.
I want to start with you, kind of the beginning of your baseball career. Coming out of high school, you were a first-round pick by the Padres, but you ended up going to NC State and playing 3 years there. How come?
Man, there's a lot of factors that played into that. I just think when I reflect back on it, I didn't feel like I was ready. My heart was set on college. My grandpa was actually sick at the time, and he was actually close to Raleigh, so I wanted to spend that time that he had left with him. I wanted the college education, and I didn't think you could put a price on that.
Absolutely. You got a chance to play in the College World Series also. 2013, NC State goes to Omaha. What was that experience like?
Oh, my gosh, man. Omaha was an experience like no other, man. Playing in front of that many people was fun. I can't even put it into words.
And then you end up as a fourth-round pick by the Chicago White Sox. You were with that organization for pretty much your entire career. What are some of the things that you learned over the course of that time that you've now brought to the Giants organization?
You just learn that you got to take it day by day, man. The season's long. The conditions that you live in, you're sleeping on an air mattress with 5 guys crammed into a 2-bedroom apartment if you're lucky. So all that's kind of prepared me for where I'm at now.
So when we see you at the plate, at the diamond, we see you bat from the left side, we see you bat from the right side. You're a switch hitter. I want to dive into that a little bit. First, when did you first start switch hitting?
Probably started when I was around 5 or 6. My dad tried to make him a switch hitter. He didn't like it. He hung it up, so I guess I was the last resort. Started about 5 or 6, and my dad never threatened to never throw me BP again if I didn't stick with it. So I stuck with it, and it turned out to be all right.
Yeah, pretty all right now. But you're a natural righty.
Yep.
And you learned how to swing lefty.
Yep.
Are there other things that you do lefty?
Man, I do everything lefty. I write with my left hand, kick with my left foot, eat with my left hand, and I just happen to throw right-handed.
So you do everything left-handed naturally, like, sign your name and things like that.
Yep.
But you picked up a baseball bat and you started swinging righty.
Yep, doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all, but it must be pretty cool to be coming to the plate and know that you're going to have an advantage every time over whoever's on the mound.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an advantage. I would, depending on the guy you're facing. Obviously, you have the breaking balls breaking into you instead of away, but switch hitting's hard. You got to try to perfect 2 swings, which makes you put in double the work. And sometimes, I wish I didn't do it because of how difficult it is, but just depending on the day, how good I feel, it just kind of sometimes it might give me an advantage.
When you're going through batting practice, how do you prepare every day to hit from both sides of the plate?
You try to get your swings in as much as you do right-handed than you do left-handed. I got in trouble with that one off season since I'm a natural righty. I just never really worked on it, and then that following season it caught up to me. So now I make sure I get the same amount of swings I do right-handed that I do left-handed.
All right, we've talked a lot about switch hitting. Brett's going to show us how to do it a little bit later on. More coming up next on Flying Squirrels Insider.
Part of All-Star Week presented by Genworth, July 7th through the 10th. On Tuesday, July 9th, right behind me, the field's going to be set up in a special way for our 2019 East League Celebrity Home Run Hitting Challenge and Derby. I don't say home run challenge because it's hard to hit a home run here. There you go. We have 14 celebrities that are going to be hitting at targets in the outfield, and also every field player in the All-Star game will have 2 minutes to hit. They'll be hitting both for the targets and for home runs. They'll be clumped together in teams, so it'll be a team and individual competition. This place is going to be packed. After the competition's over, we'll have a concert by 3 Sheets to the Wind, followed by fireworks. All in all, this is going to be a spectacle like Richmond's never seen before.
It felt great. It felt great. It just reminded me of how hard it is, actually playing the game of baseball, just hitting the ball,
Oh, it was a no-brainer. I love baseball, and Mike Rhodes, I know, played Little League baseball. I think he played for his father, and so we grew up as basketball guys, but with the love of baseball. So I'm glad he's in it also.
Here's the thing I saw from today. Aaron Brooks was here, Rob Ukrop was here, Chris Mooney was here. Different sports, soccer, football, basketball. Rob Ukrop had not touched a baseball bat since 7th grade, and he was hitting them into the outfield.
That's what you want. You want to at least be respectable, right? You can't get out the park, at least be respectable, get a few out there. And so once I got warmed up, I did put a couple out there, yeah.
So part of bringing the celebrities out today was to get them more comfortable and to get them ready to put on a great show for the fans. We're going to do this a few more times before the Home Run Derby on July 9th.
Yeah, that'll be harder than coaching for sure. It'll be fun. I mean, my own family being there will probably be they'll be the biggest critics. So no, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's great that the Squirrels are hosting the All-Star Game and the whole festival. I think it should be a great thing, and excited to give it a try.
Oh man, the Derby is going to be awesome, man. I look forward to trying to electrify the crowd and trying to be somewhat of a showman for them and make sure they get the best experience they possibly can. That's what I signed up for, so I'm more than sure that's going to be a wonderful event.
The whole goal for this is for them to have a good time out here so the people out there in the stands, the 10,000 or so people in the stands, can have a good time as well. To say that we're excited about All-Star Week is a classic understatement. I remember in one of the first initial meetings, somebody's like, okay, well, we got 2 nights to work with. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? Well, the All-Star break's usually 2 nights. And we all looked at each other and we were like, we can't do this in 2 nights. We need to do more than 2 nights. And that's how we ended up with 4 nights. Our schedule of events is twice the amount of what it normally is in an Eastern League city. We're blowing it out, because we feel like this is a way for Richmond to really be proud of itself. The mayor gets a lot of credit for that. We were having breakfast one morning talking about All-Star Week, and he looked at me and he's like, well, Parney, how can you have an event in Richmond, Virginia and not do anything on Browns Island? And I said, well, that's a very good point, Mayor. That's why you're the mayor. You're really smart. And not only that, because you came up with the idea, we're putting your name on it.
Well, there's going to be a bunch of fun-filled events right here in the city, but I'm really excited about the event that we're going to have on that Sunday, July 7th, where I'm going to welcome all the folks who are part of the Eastern League All-Star teams to come and actually have a little fun on Browns Island with a couple of musical acts and bands, and we're going to have a good time. So I hope that everyone out there comes out and supports not only the Flying Squirrels, but also the All-Star Game.
I know what our staff is putting into this. I know what our sponsors are putting into this. I know what the community, the media is putting into this. We're all in. Everybody's pushing the chips in the middle of the table. The Mayor LeVar Stoney's kickoff festival down at Browns Island. No minor league team has ever had a concert with a band with the notoriety like Big and Rich before. It's just not done. Then to connect the dots with Richmond Raceway, who we love, and then the Celebrity Home Run Derby, the local, regional, and national celebrities that are coming back to Richmond simply because we asked them to, is another example of how everybody wants to contribute to make this something that people never forget. And then, by the way, we get to Wednesday and there's actually a baseball game. So whenever we talk about the event, it's amazing the reaction of people's faces as we go from Sunday to Monday to Tuesday. And then when we finally get to Wednesday, they're just like, oh wait, there is a game. The thing that I'm most excited about is I think we're going to hear this a million times that week. You know, people have this erroneous conception of Richmond, Virginia. And our goal is to show them the Richmond that we love, because there is a ton of things to be excited about.
The great Yogi Berra once said, he's hitting from both sides of the plate. He's amphibious. What he meant to say was ambidextrous, and we've got our resident amphibian, ambidextrous catcher, Brett Austin, joining us. He's a switch hitter. He's going to show us how it's done. Started switch hitting when you were 6 years old. Natural righty, learned how to swing lefty. Let's start with the right-handed swing. What's natural about that for you?
Probably everything. I mean, when I was a young kid, I just picked up a bat, started hitting righty. Obviously, I did that for years before I started hitting left-handed.
So let's see one of these right-handed swings. We've got a nice little ball on the tee here. We're going to have our camera people give a heads up. And there it is. So there's our right-handed swing. When you're trying to have that right-handed swing, what are some of the things that you're focusing on with your hands, with your feet?
For me personally, I like working my hands inside the ball. I think that's a big cue for me. It helps with my direction. Another big thing is just getting center my body on time and allowing my swing to work. Those are really the only two things I focus on righty.
So this is your natural side. Would you say that it's your more comfortable side now that you're this far into your baseball career?
It varies day to day. Some days lefty feels better than righty feels better than lefty, so it's kind of hit or miss.
When you're going through batting practice, how many swings are you taking from each side of the plate when you're getting ready?
Same amount as I do righty as I do lefty.
Doesn't matter if you're going to face a righty or a lefty during that day?
I'll split it evenly. If we get 4 rounds, I'll do 2 and 2.
All right, let's flip it around and see that left-handed swing. This is the one that you picked up during batting practice when you were a kid. When you were first learning how to hit left-handed, what was the biggest challenge?
Just touching the ball. I literally swung and missed. I think I struck out my first 8 at-bats, so I wanted to quit, but I stuck with it. Like I said, my dad threatened to never throw me BP again, so obviously I wanted to keep taking BP, so I stuck with it.
It's a little tricky though, right? Because you can't rely on what feels natural to you. You have to go with kind of the things that you've learned as a hitter. So how you're striding the plate and how you're throwing hands to the ball, that's all something you really have to focus on.
Yeah, see, I made the big mistake of trying to mimic what I do righty and do it lefty when they're totally opposite swings. So now a little bit later in my career, I've kind of figured out the different cues that I need for both sides to be successful.
What are some of the actual differences in your swing from the right side versus the left side?
So lefty, I have more of an uppercut, so I have to think more down just to be level. Righty, it's just my right hand is more dominant, so it's more level already, so I have to just think level. If I think swing down, I would literally chop the ball straight into the ground.
All right, let's see one of these lefty swings. So what's going on with the lefty swing there that you're really making sure that you do? Not just chopping down, but making sure every single part is moving properly.
Yeah, see, that swing right there was no bueno. I came up and through. It was more of an uppercut. The big thing for me, too, I think it's universal, is you have to be centered. The same thing I think about, too, a little bit right-handed, just centered and on time. But for me, once I get to this position, it's almost like I have to feel like I'm chopping wood.
All right, take us through it a little bit slower, kind of step by step.
So my routine, I start off with just basically, I get up, just a walk-through drill where I get my hands going, try to feel some rhythm, get centered, and just chop straight down. That's my feel.
Let's get another look at that.
Full speed.
That one was a little bit better, create a little bit more backspin.
That's a double.
There you go. That's the double, maybe even a home run.
I'll take it.
It's hard enough to hit from one side of the plate. You're doing it from two sides of the plate. We've enjoyed watching you, and thanks for teaching us how to switch hit today.
Appreciate it.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Flying Squirrels Insider. Thanks so much for joining us this week. We will talk to you again in a couple of weeks on the next episode of Flying Squirrels Insider. Thanks to our crew, thanks to Jake, thanks to Brett Austin for joining us this week, and we look forward to chatting about more behind-the-scenes things with the Richmond Flying Squirrels coming up in a couple weeks.
Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by
Secure Testing Services, providing 24-hour on-site drug and alcohol testing for businesses. And by
Smell gas? Act fast. Don't just stand there. Leave the area. Get out. Go where the smell is no longer present and call 911. Making you aware, keeping you safe. We're Richmond's Natural Gas Safety Awareness Program.